Hello and welcome to my channel. Today is Wednesday, so that means we're doing Missing and Murdered. As always, content warning. This is about a child, and it's fucked up. So, yeah, we talk about bad shit here. That's what we do. That being said, we'll just get into it because this is gonna be rough. Amore Wiggins, formerly known as Opelika Jane Doe, was a formerly unidentified murder victim whose skeletal remains were found in a trailer park in Opelika, Alabama. Her identity was not known until nearly 11 years later in January 2023. Wiggins' father, Lamar Vickerstaff, was subsequently charged with felony murder and failure to report a missing child, while her stepmother, Ruth Vickerstaff, was charged with the latter. If convicted, Lamar would face up to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole or the death penalty, and Ruth would face up to 10 years in prison. On January 28, 2012, a resident discovered a skull at Brookhaven Trailer Park, 1775 Hurst Street in Opelika, Alabama. Police searched the surrounding area and found more remains, including a pink long-sleeve shirt with heart buttons and ruffles, nearby on a creek bank. It is unknown if that shirt belonged to the victim. Probably did, though. Detectives determined the skull belonged to a young African-American girl around 4 to 7 years of age. Evidence from her bones indicated she was malnourished, and she also had a visible deformity on her left eye. This could be natural or a result of injury or abuse. Forensic artists at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children created an image of what Jane Doe may have looked like. Detectives looked at school and birth records, but this yielded no results. In 2017, the University of South Florida Institute for Forensic Anthropology and Applied Science performed isotope testing on her bones, which indicated she lived in the southeastern United States. In September 2016, a former Vacation Bible School teacher at the Greater Peace Church in Opelika provided photos of a child who resembled Wiggins that were taken in summer of 2011. She would have been 4 to 5 years old. The teacher said she had a slightly unkempt appearance and was not very clean. She had trouble communicating with other children and was quiet and stayed to herself. The teacher did not remember her name, and the church did not formally register children, so there were no records. The church was located 10 minutes from where Wiggins' remains were found. Police used software to enhance the image, hoping someone in the public would recognize the girl. The Opelika Police Department teamed up with Othram Laboratories to use advanced DNA testing and investigative genetic genealogy. Based on tips, detectives believe the unidentified child may have had ties to Orlando, Florida, southeastern Virginia, or northeastern North Carolina. In January of 2022, Opelika Jane Doe's remains were sent to Othram's laboratory in the Woodlands, Texas. A DNA extract from the remains was used to build a comprehensive genealogical profile, which was uploaded to a genealogical database. The Opelika Police Department retained Barbara Ray Ventner, known for helping police investigators identify the Golden State Killer, to produce investigative leads which were returned to the Opelika Police Department. In January 2022, Othram confirmed that Opelika Jane Doe has been identified as Amore Wiggins. 50-year-old Lamar Vickerstaff was identified as Amore's father in October of 2022. He was born and raised in Opelika, Alabama, before he enlisted in the U.S. Navy. He also spent time in Norfolk, Virginia, Honolulu, Hawaii, and Jacksonville, Florida. In December 2022, Opelika detectives traveled to Mayport Naval Station in Jacksonville, where Vickerstaff was stationed at the time, to notify him of his daughter's death. Vickerstaff did not provide any information to authorities regarding his daughter's identity. Vickerstaff's wife, Ruth, to whom he had been married since May of 2006, told detectives that she did not know who Vickerstaff's daughter was or who was her mother. Ray Ventner identified the biological mother to be Sherry Wiggins, who resided in Maryland. In December 2022, age 37, she confirmed she was the biological mother of Amore. Sherry Wiggins was a native of Norfolk and provided documentation showing that the Vickerstaffs obtained legal and physical custody of her daughter in 2009. At that time, her visitation with Amore was suspended. She also provided documents showing that she had continuously paid child support to Vickerstaff since 2009. Amore Wiggins' funeral was held on February 25th, 2023 in Norfolk, Virginia. On January 17th, 2023, the Vickerstaffs were arrested in Jacksonville, Florida. Lamar Vickerstaff was charged with felony murder and failure to report a missing child, and his wife Ruth was charged with the latter, so failure to report a missing child. They were held at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office until their extradition to Lee County, Alabama. On March 22nd, 2023, a preliminary hearing was held for Lamar and Ruth Vickerstaff's cases, where Detective Alfred White revealed details about Lamar and Ruth Vickerstaff's don't know, I was having trouble there, interviews with police. White said that Ruth Vickerstaff had admitted to him that she had been untruthful during her initial arrest, since she, quote, didn't know what was going on, end quote. She stated that while she and Lamar had custody of Amore Wiggins, she became overwhelmed with having to take care of Amore and requested that Lamar, quote, take Amore to his family, end quote, and stated that was the final time she saw Amore. White stated that someone who knew Ruth had reported Amore's injuries prior to her death. White stated that during Lamar Vickerstaff's police interview, he had confessed to murdering Amore but denied inflicting the injuries which had been observed on her remains and through the church surveillance footage. He stated that he had attempted to bring Amore back to life after the murder. So I'm assuming CPR or some form of CPR is what I'm guessing he means. He also requested that Ruth not be charged in Amore's death, and I say to that, fuck that. This woman knew and probably participated in that murder, for one. And two, you cannot tell me she didn't know that that little girl was being abused. She was probably doing some of it. The reality is that we don't know. But I absolutely think she should have been charged with more than just failure to report a missing child, because that child was abused in that house. There's no question about that. After the hearing, Lamar Vickerstaff was denied bail, which Ruth was granted bail because fuck this kid, right? You know? I'm sorry. If there's anything I hate more than serial killers or child rapists, it's child murderers. Like, you know, not like children that kill, which is also bad, but like people that kill children. Because, like, what the fuck did that kid do to you? A kid who trusted you and can't fight back. And return to Jacksonville, where she must wear an ankle monitor while she awaits trial. If convicted, Lamar Vickerstaff faces either life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. Good for them, because I think he deserves it. Well, Ruth Vickerstaff faces up to 10 years in prison. Yeah, she gets 10 years for abusing a child that caused her death. So, like I said, this one's a doozy, and now you know why I was mad about it. Yeah, I don't take kindly when I do cases about children, especially when it turns out that the perpetrator is somebody that they loved and trusted and expected to take care of them that ended up hurting them. I never take that well. I never deliver it well. I always kind of sound like an asshole towards the parents, but I mean, do they really deserve my sympathy when they're the reason she's gone? You know what I mean? So, that being said, that's all I have for you on that one. Thank God, because I don't think I could have gotten any more into it than I did without making myself super... I yawn because I have asthma, but it's always at the most inconvenient times. Yeah, I don't know if I could have taken any more into that story. And you all know this because when I covered Dean Coral, I really had a hard time with that. Because the victims were just children. I did have a really hard time doing that one, and ended up taking 2 weeks off after doing that one because that was rough. But yeah. As always, please don't do anything I wouldn't do. Make good choices. Be cautiously kind to others, and I'll see you all later. Bye!